Welcome to the Conscious Publicist Podcast, a space where thoughts become ideas to advocate for a more conscious human experience in the media. Our thoughts and ideas inspire action, and the most notable leaders and organizations have transformed thoughts and ideas into global initiatives that have impacted the lives of millions. My name is Ashley Graham, and as a woman-owned business founder and publicist, I guide leaders, visionaries, and creators in discovering their conscious media voice and methodologies that inspire connection, community, and impact through aligned media channels. In this podcast, we'll dive into public relations, thought leadership, business, and entrepreneurship, all through the lens of being a conscious human being. I'll take you behind the scenes into the habits, thoughts, and modalities that have helped leaders shift past paradigms of limiting beliefs, comparison, and self-doubt to show up for themselves to become the subject matter experts they were called to be. Subscribe to the show on Apple or Spotify and join us on this journey of awakening the conscious, enlightened leader within you. Have you ever stood in front of your closet staring at clothes that no longer feel like you? I know this all too well. That moment of disconnect isn't just about fabric and fashion. It's about identity, transformation, and the stories we tell ourselves. Our bodies change constantly throughout our lives, especially as women, through seasons of growth, pregnancy, loss, career shifts, or simply the natural evolution of aging. Yet society rarely equips us with the tools to embrace these changes with grace and confidence. That said, I'm so excited to introduce you to today's guest. Today, I'm joined by the brilliant Tahirah, a personal stylist whose work transcends the surface of style and dives deep into the psychology of how we see ourselves. Tahirah is the visionary founder behind ClothesPetals, a premier style house for women who seek to intentionally elevate their wardrobes. By aligning fashion with their minds, bodies, and personal brands, ClothesPetals offers a luxurious and transformative styling experience for women navigating business, bridal, and all of life's major moments. ClothesPetals also offers its signature Wind Down series, an intimate event series designed for women to unite over wine and their wardrobes, grow their communities, and amplify their personal brands. I connect with Tahirah's mission greatly because Tahirah's mission is simple: to empower women to dress as their highest selves, reclaim their time, and present the best version of themselves to the world. This conversation touches on something I've been personally navigating as an expecting mother, and this conversation is really about guiding the audience through the delicate balance of honoring who we've been, celebrating who we are now, and courageously stepping into who we're becoming. Whether you're like me, moving through a significant body change, feeling disconnected from your personal reflection or body reflection, or simply seeking to infuse more intention into your self-expression, this conversation offers gentle wisdom for you while you're on your path. So find a comfortable spot and join us as we unravel the beautiful complexity of style, self-love, and the courage to become who we desire to be. Together, we explore how the simple act of getting dressed each morning can become a powerful ritual of self-affirmation and intentional reflection. Tahirah, I am so excited to have you in this conversation today. I definitely want to bring your brilliance and wisdom to the listeners. So to get us started, I'm going to ask you the question, the million-dollar question. What story is wanting to be told through you and your brilliance and your wisdom this year and beyond?
That's really an amazing question. And I feel like it needs to be like the opening of a book. Like you like write the intro to like something much greater than this. I am a personal stylist, an event producer based out of Los Angeles. And I think ultimately it's funny, like I started this year and I decided that this is going to just be the year of content. And content less in the sense of like the reels and the TikToks and all the things, but content, as in like really being able to provide information to people. I think so many times we consider style a luxury, and I want it to be more accessible. Like, I really want us to learn how to dress our bodies. And because I think that through our lifetimes, they change. And it's funny because like our conversation started today just talking about like where you are on the journey of pregnancy. Like, that's a huge milestone I think that we consider as women as far as like our bodies changing. But I think that our bodies literally change starting from childhood, and they just keep evolving. They keep changing in ways, and we don't do a good enough job in society in teaching women how to manage the changes, and least of all, how to feel beautiful throughout those changes. Because if you don't look a certain way, and especially if, for yourself, if you don't look the way that you've always either wanted to or have throughout those changes, like it can mess with your psyche. So I really think that for me, my job with ClothesPetals, with everything that I do in my business, is empowering women to find their self-confidence, but also learning how to style their bodies, because throughout this journey, your body will change regardless of bringing new life into this world, of weight gain, weight loss, surgical procedures, all of the things. It runs the gamut for us. And whether or not that this is something that is planned or unintentional, you want to still have the tools to still feel your best and show up in that body in the most empowering way possible.
That is so beautiful. So, what I'm basking in and what you just said right now is there's this really deep psychological component to our bodies, how that connects to our emotional well being, our mental well being, how we see ourselves both reflected back to us, but then how we show up in the world. But then there's also tools that we can learn to maybe navigate those changes with a little bit more simplicity and more so ease that we can give ourselves to understand that it's a natural part of change, it's a natural part of growing, and it can become easier with experts such as yourself to help people along on that journey. With that said, let's just get to the root. With how you work with clients, given the psychological component of your work, but then also those tools, how would you help a client transform through the changes of their body through style, but then also beyond style?
Yeah, oh my God. You're asking some incredible questions. I swear to God. Uh, First, with anything, I start with our foundation, and that's our closet, the things that we have existing, hanging on those racks right now. When I first started styling, that was actually my favorite piece of, I think, this methodology that I have put together in like my tenure of doing this. And I think it's so interesting because like Marie Kondo really popularized that method of holding on to the things that feel good to us. But I think that the first place to start when you are looking to elevate your style is absolutely in your closet, because I think that when you're ready to step into any new chapter, like they say, to get rid of something, regardless of that being in your closet or just hanging around clutter in your house, because it energetically frees up space for more goodness to be let in. But they say the best place to start is to clean out your closet, because it's often the things that we hold on to that hold us back. And I know, as a woman myself, with my own growth in how I have learned to speak to myself, have had to recognize how so many of the thoughts that I carried about myself began with my wardrobe. A lot of times we're wearing things because they were given to us, because they're trendy, because we think that we need to wear them. We think that we should have them. Oh, I'll wear this then. I'll wear this for work. Oh, my mom gave this to me for my birthday. I love my mom. I'm going to hold on to this. Like, a lot of those things we just carry just because we think that we should, and never really dive deep enough into, do I like this? And I think that roots in childhood. Your parents dress you. I spent 12 years in a uniform and found that when I went to college, that was one of the most difficult, I think, transitions for me to make was dressing myself every day. And not necessarily because it was a challenge of putting pieces together. No, I love that. That's always been something that I have enjoyed doing. But it was the fact that I felt like I didn't have the things that I wanted in my closet. I had things that people had given me. And that in itself became, I don't want to say like a mental burden, but just a place to start in unpacking like your thoughts. Like, why do I have this? Why do I wear these things? Why do I feel uncomfortable to purchase something that's more form fitting when I have things that are baggy and looser? And why am I buying this size when I go out shopping with friends and they're like, oh, size down? Why were you buying that initially? It's like you have so many things that we start to like layer on as far as beliefs about ourselves just because of what was ingrained in us. The buy this so you have room to fit in it. Buy this because you're maturing fast, so we want to cover up. Like a lot of those things, we have to start unpacking and decide who we want to be now. And that's why I mentioned in the beginning, this is something that you will continue to unpack throughout a lifetime because at any moment you can decide, oh no, I don't want to dress that way anymore. Oh, I would like to try something that's more modest. Oh, I do love Sophia Richie's quiet luxury maternity style. Like in any way, shape, or form that you want to make a change, you can. So I start there as far as the psychology of our style, because a lot of times in our closet is where we've been rooted, the type of beliefs that we carry about ourselves currently, and might want to start understanding why we need to unpack them and let them go. So that's like the building block as far as foundation. But then the second for me is why I love like having my in-person trips with my clients. And I think many of them appreciate this too. It's like when you sit down with someone in the dressing room and it's you and your body and them, that's a very intimate space and time. And it's amazing just the power of women to connect and stay surface level in the conversation. Okay, we're talking clothes, but then all of a sudden we're talking deep and we're talking about our childhood wounds and why we carry certain beliefs about ourselves. And now we're surface again and we're laughing and we can go through that kind of spectrum of conversation, but you realize so much about people and why they believe they can and cannot wear certain things. And that's, I think, the beauty of a stylist because you have a perspective that is not your own to help you grow and expand. Yes, I know very clearly that I'd like to wear more form fitting, more structural pieces, but I don't quite believe yet that I can. And you have to have someone who's guiding you in that direction so that you start to believe what you're seeing in the mirror. Because I have found that with clients, it's okay, I hold on to your vision, but I can't immediately thrust you into that vision yet if you are carrying certain beliefs and thoughts about yourself that are holding you back from being there right now. It's about, again, unpacking the clutter and then you can see yourself in the mirror and be like, oh, wow, like I feel as good as I look. But I'm also believing how good I look reflected back to me. So, like, those two pieces I think are so important as far as like building, but that's also over time what I have learned and grown into as a stylist because I used to think that I could just do everything virtually and copy the gurus that I had seen. And I think that's a part of entrepreneurship that you have to learn on your own anyway. It's like understanding what your one mission is, but also your how. Because you can't just copy everyone's how, even though there will be so many gurus, so many social media experts that claim to know the only way how forward is through their 1997 course or their 8-week program. We get inundated, I think, especially when we first started out in the steps that we think that we have to take to get us to the right clients. And honestly, I believe that is rooted in kind of the same thing that I preach with my clients. It's like really existing in your ethos and your magic and feeling confident in what you're bringing to the table and being very, 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 very sure of that. So, I mean, like we have like different steps and ways of working depending on the package that you purchase with me. But when it comes to the full psychology of like where we start unpacking so that we can build, it's definitely rooted in those two things.
You said some key things that I want to mold into how to guide this next. But as you were saying, it's easy to get sucked into the noise of the industry of recommendations, influencer outfits. It's all great to a degree because, especially if you like something and are attracted to it, it becomes available and then can become yours. But someone like myself who loves to get to the roots and get to the deeper meanings, working with you, I believe, would be just such a transformative experience because you help your clients feel seen in a way that they probably have never really been seen before. We see ourselves in the mirror, we see one version. And as you were saying, trying to paint the picture, we have also seen ourselves grow and change and evolve and adapt in so many different environments, so many different seasons of our lives. And perhaps we probably have naturally been able to accept certain changes, but might have troubles accepting other areas, whether weight gain, weight loss, whatever the circumstances may be. I speak about feeling seen through using the voice and storytelling often, but I feel that there is something so significant that is groundbreaking when somebody is able to see you in a physical form, but also being able to tie that to the psychological components of your life, your story, your journey, and being able to create this new image of the internal and the external.
Yep.
So I feel that your work goes so much deeper than just calling yourself a stylist. I wouldn't know exactly what that identifier would be just yet, but it's almost as if somebody really is looking to transform through personal growth, through really loving who they are internally and externally, and then having a style and an image that also portrays that new transformation that has taken form, that is the experience that you provide.
I think that's a great way of recapping it. And one day we'll find a term for that. One day we'll be able to coin that, but absolutely. Absolutely. And it's so interesting too that you have been able to create that language because I think back to relating it to entrepreneurship, as a woman, especially as women, I think we're taught that we have to do things a certain way to get ahead. And it's funny because a lot of my clients are female entrepreneurs, they are female executives. So, like, in that constant state of growth and hard work and constant validation based on our achievement and elevation. And I think when you operate in that mindset, and I am absolutely going to find myself guilty of this, you start validating everything based on what you've done. And it's easy to set the goals for our body. Okay, I will go buy new clothes next year. And once I've lost the 15 pounds that I know I'm going to lose, and a year goes by and you actually didn't lose weight, you actually gained it because you spent longer days or nights working, feeling sedentary, you had a baby, you did this, there was some loss in your family, there was grief, you find that packed on too. It's like life happens. And because we are women, we often beat ourselves up for that life happening and being unable to check off that next to do on our goals list. And it makes us feel bad about ourselves, but it also it's disenchanting because now not only are we berating the fact that we didn't make that to do, but it's physical. And because it's physical, we are comparing ourselves to others. And so it's like an extra layer of, I don't want to say self hate, but it's close enough to that because we can be our biggest critics and we don't ever get taught how to be nice to ourselves. Like that is really a big thing about what I hope to impart with clients. I want this to be an opportunity that you spend with me to one, have fun and enjoy and relax into your body and in the space of feeling like you are learning how to curate your wardrobe so that on the days you want to take your children to the park, you can dress up and be like that cute mom. Or on the days that you just want to run errands and go out with the girls, like you feel like you have something to wear. And it's not like constant sense of feeling like you have to go out and buy something. But also, I want us to understand that in the rituals and routines that we have in our day to day, the smallest shifts in how we think about ourselves and how we speak to ourselves make the biggest difference. Because sometimes you don't even need new clothes. You just need to be nicer to yourselves and understand how to piece together the ones that you already have. It's really every client is different, but I have found that the biggest through line is that we are just so hypercritical of ourselves. And when we are measuring our success against milestones, and often these are milestones that we have set in our head on a very specific timeline, that if we don't hit on those exact dates, all hell is breaking loose. We have to learn how to be much gentler and just enjoy the fact that we are existing in these bodies right now. We have the opportunity to engage and create and have these moments where we can make ourselves feel like and look like anything that we want and find the creativity and the fun in that because that's where everything for us specifically is birthed from. Like the creativity that you get to experience as an entrepreneur is the same thing that you can do when you're getting dressed and you're putting on your makeup and you're doing your hair and you're in the mirror and you lit a candle and it's all the things like all that feel good is so important to carry with us throughout the rest of the day because life will always life and there will always be another to do and you just can't bring the those intentional moments that you spend back with yourself. That type A personality exists in a lot of us, and we're taught it. We're not taught how to slow down and just relax and receive, and not necessarily receiving from others, but receiving that goodness from ourselves.
I'm over here speechless. I honestly don't even know where to start next. Basically, just how you were striking a chord with me is how common it is to fall into a perfectionist trap. Like you were saying, it's
Yep.
almost something that is ingrained and instilled in us. Maybe not intentionally, it's maybe how the ethos works. But women are so hypercritical about themselves, and we set unrealistic milestones and timelines for ourselves without really understanding why.
Yep.
And I was over here getting choked up because I fall into that all the time. Being an expecting mama, I have had to see my body change in so many different ways through three pregnancies, two that resulted in miscarriage that had layers and layers of grief interwoven with them. But now that I'm in this blossoming phase, I have fallen into that trap of not going to buy anything right now because I'm not going to be able to fit into it in a couple months. It's just going to sit in my closet. It's going to take up space. What's the point? But then I also know when I dress myself to look a certain way, if I do my hair, I do my makeup, I feel like this fully expanded woman. And my creativity, my drive, my motivation, my excitement all stems from the way that I feel and based off of how I look. There's an energy to it. I haven't been able to really explain it. We've probably put it into words already so far. There's so much depth to style and how we feel. It can be heavy, especially when we're navigating a lot of personal change, grief. I also think limiting beliefs and also scarcity play a part into this as well. Scarcity and limiting beliefs actually kept coming to mind earlier in our conversation. Let's talk on that because I think, again, I'll be a good example. Me wanting to put myself in this stagnant position to wait for the right moment when my body might look the way that I want it to again, when I might feel like I want to feel again, then that's the time to have this vision of myself externally. That's a limiting belief, and it's also scarcity in a way.
Yep.
If myself as a client or other women who might be struggling with those, how would you help them through that?
I love that because I think that we all fall into that trap, but especially mothers. And it's funny, my dad used to tell a story. I am the oldest of three girls, so my mom had me first. And my dad used to tell a story about how, like, when my mom was in the shower, she would get mad at him because we would always ask for her, where's mommy? And he would say, oh, she's in the bathroom or whatever. And we would stick our hands underneath the door and she could see our fingers while she's taking a shower. And like when I was younger, that it used to make me laugh. I mean, children doing anything is just a little silly. Babies sticking their fingers on the door looking for their mom is funny, but it also reinforces too that moms and women especially are everything to someone. And when you're everything to someone, it's easy to fall into this trap of putting their needs before yours. And as a young woman now, I can look back on my life of when you have prioritized, the wants, the needs of others before yourself, and looked back and said, why did I do that? And I don't think you ever rectify it when it's an adult that you're doing it for, but when it comes to children, it is very hard to tear yourself away from that person, that little baby itty bitty angel that is relying on you completely for everything, and quote unquote be selfish. Like it's very easy to say, okay, well, like when I go get the kids stuff for school, then I'll go shopping for me. Oh, well, I'll drop the kids off and then maybe I'll try to see if I can get to the mall. And like we always put ourselves so far down on that list when it comes to those little tiny humans. And I say that because when it comes to the idea of lack and scarcity, if you're so used to being second, you stay ruminating in the space of being second. And you don't realize how you have started to lose yourself under that new label that you have placed on that hierarchy as being a mom. Like that becomes like the identity that we step into. When you're the high achieving exec, that's your identity. When you are the female founder, that's your identity. And we don't realize that we have so many more identities that we don't get to engage with all of them, I think, as fully as we should because of that ritual of getting dressed. I can literally choose to look like and be anything I want to when I have my clothes. And like I used to tell clients that when I first started, it's like the best way to manifest that next chapter is to dress like her right now. They say dress the part. That's really a very key insight into just that energetic and creative space. Like I look like I run this company. And before you know it, you look up and it's okay, vision board, to-do list, I can check that off. But mom, like for so many of us that carry so much weight. And I think that creating the identity of who we want to be, even in motherhood, is very, very important for us so we don't lose ourselves in it. Because I have a friend, she has three young sons, and she's like, it's just time for me to really step back into who I was before them because they only know mom. But you know every single version of you that existed before her. And so you get to choose to be any version that you want to be through that motherhood and through the beginnings of this new journey. So I say often, oh, and we had this conversation when we chatted, just like reminding yourself that there's a difference between cozy and comfortable. Like a lot of times when it comes to motherhood, like we love being cozy. We love being in the slouchy, in the workout gear, in the blanket, in the cardigan sweater. Like we are very, very homey, but remember that the best way to elevate your style, but also still maintain a sense of all of those other identities is to be comfortable. And you can do that with clothes, but they have to have a structure. And that's also something to keep in mind too, because when you're thinking about that new body after motherhood, when you're thinking about how I can still feel like the woman that I was before this, but also look like her, you need to have some type of structure. That's why a lot of doulas will do the binding rituals for your stomach and your abdomen to tighten your organs back so that you can bounce back quicker during postpartum. First of all, everything is everywhere after baby, and you want to tone it back up. And so reminding yourself that even in the clothes that you're putting on, like you want to have things that have some type of structure, some type of fit, and some type of shape that you're wearing. Because over time that helps. It like literally is physically helping your body, but it's also tricking your mind to be like, oh, I do still have it. I still can wear those things and I still will. Instead of falling into the trap of being in the cozy, shapeless, formless, comfortable space that I think that we like to fall in. And I blame COVID for a lot of that too. We just fell into the trap of just being cozy. And we didn't realize that, yeah, one day you would go back outside and you would want to be seen again and you would want to feel and look like you want to be seen and look when you run into that person out in public. So it's just like little reminders. And again, back to the psychology of our closets, like we have to still be able to maintain some type of sense of self. And that's why I say like that moment in the bathroom, because I just think back to my mom. Like those times that she spent alone were often when she was just in the bathroom. And so making intentional use of that time is key for you, but it's also key for you to remind yourself in that creative space, wow, I am, yes, a mom. Yes, I'm killing it today. Yes, I woke up and I have this opportunity. I have this runway to become whatever I want to be, even if I'm just playing with the shorties in the garden today, or even if I am gonna be home and spend intentional time with them, or even if I am just dropping them off at school and running errands. Like you still get to play and exist as you. And it's very important to be mindful of that because when they get older, you will come back to you. So don't waste the time in between of feeling like you were disconnected from her. Remain true to who she is in that ethos and still show up as her because your inner child is still looking to play too. Um, so yeah, I told you I can chit chat forever, but it's just back to us and who we are as women. It's like everything comes from us. And because we are so much to so many people, like the first line of defense is to be everything to yourself. And we have to learn how to do that. We are taught how to put ourselves second. And so reclaiming that intentional time with you is so key because it's, yeah, if I show up for me, I know I can show up for everyone. And that's where that self confidence comes from so that you really can, as they say, pour from a full cup and not an empty one.
That was just so beautifully said. So beautiful. My eyes are watering, and they have been for the last 10 minutes. You just touched upon something that is so profound in the sense that women have this depth to them to be able to hold space for other people outside themselves. I know that's an old narrative that I think women have been trying to change for so long. But I just want to touch upon like the actual beauty of that. Like women have this ability, this depth, this power to them to hold space and put others ahead of their own. It can be heavy, but just the fact that our energetic makeup can hold that space for other people, it's something that I've grown to admire so much about other women. And especially as I continue my journey towards motherhood and I feel in and I reflect on how that is going to change my life in so many ways. It's actually something that I'm so excited about. I mean, even in this pregnancy, I think about this little light all the time. And I don't even know what they look like yet. I don't know what they sound like yet. And it's this miraculous feeling. But I also know that when I give my best to myself, it's the only way that I'm going to be able to show up as a present mother. And that is my biggest goal ever, is to still have my passions, my projects, the essence of me that I've known my whole life, but be able to also pour that into this being and their life while they're also on their journey of discovering who they are. I just want to be a present mom, and I'm learning to re-tap back into the essence of me well before that being enters the world.
It's so funny that you say that. I was actually just having this conversation with my mom not too long ago, and we're going to deviate slightly from fashion, but stay with me. We were talking just about how you always carry your mom with you, whether that be her personality, her looks, her DNA is yours, and it's going to be just because you're connected to her in your literal formative years. Like you are being shaped and molded in the womb, and you are your mother. Like you are carrying her mom, her mom, her mom, just all the way to the beginning of your ancestry. And that's such a very interesting, beautiful thing. And my sister was actually telling me, because we were just like talking about how out of me and my sisters, we all just have a very different part of her personality. And I don't know how into astrology you are, but she was saying that she was reading from an astrologer that your moon sign is who your mother was at the time of your birth. So what she had going on, like her personality, all of those different traits get wrapped up into that astrological sign and like who she was. And we were like going into this, just like the three of us, and how we all have a very different moon sign and how we all very clearly have like different parts of our mom's personality. Like my moon is an Aries moon, and my mom was cracking me up. She was like, yeah, that's when I was feisty. She was like, I was at my youngest, and she was like, yeah, nobody could tell me anything about myself and all these things. And I was like, wow, like you have definitely imparted that into your oldest daughter. And we were just like laughing about just like the differences. But I say all that because like who you are is magic. And it's going to be magic to that little person just because they are you. And like understanding the full, I think, the fullness of all that means as women, like having children is so, so important. And it's regardless of how your children come to you in all the ways, shapes, and forms, it's who you are as a mom is going to shape them. And that's important. And we don't give ourselves, I think, enough credit for who we are. Because regardless of the little people that you're going to raise or not, there's always a choice in everything. But your happiness, like who you are at your core, is something that we have to learn how to relish in and bask in, because whether we know it or not, there are other people who always will. There's always going to be someone who can see what you don't. And so just learning again, just in that cycle of just getting dressed, of putting your clothes on and deciding who you want to show up as, it's important to be thankful and show that type of gratitude and an intentional time, as I like to say, with your body, because that is you. You know, it's magic for a reason. And I love being my clients like hype woman, because you're everything to someone. And I just want us to learn how to show and direct that gratitude to ourselves. It's funny, it's like I was on a call once, and this was a business development coach. She was incredible. And we were talking about just like faking it till you make it. Because I'm like, people say dress for success, all the things. And I was saying I'm not a fan of just like that term, like faking it till you make it. And she said, neither am I. She said, and here's why. And she said, because faking it is not sustainable. She was like, you can only fake it for so long. And I'm like, that's really it. When you dress for success, dressing for the role that you desire to have instead of the one that you have currently, you step into that idea you are becoming. And becoming is not faking. We have an opportunity to choose who we want to become every day, every moment. And understanding the real power in that is really key because that's how you draw all of those great things and great people to you. Because in your authenticity, you want all of the things again that make you everything to that person, that opportunity. You are the perfect fit for someone, for something. And just like really fully understanding what that means is just, I just want us all to live our lives like that because that's how I think you create a utopia.
I agree 1000%. You've just got me over here, just up in the clouds. The fact that you just said becoming, that word, I hint at this a lot in the podcast, in my writing, that we are not stagnant beings. We are always in a process of becoming. And that could be a question mark, that could be an exclamation mark. It's up for interpretation. But for me, when I use that saying, we are on a process of becoming, it is that we are not one size fits all. We are not cookie cutter. We are not written in stone. We change every day, if not every hour, every minute. When we have our experiences and we're put in different environments, we learn even more about who we are, how we think, how we act, our beliefs, rituals, habits, patterns that we want to take into our life. And we can test some of it and then we can change. And I see that very much as style. I like to be comfortable. I like to be in my body. I feel with my body and my energetic center so much. So for me, that feels like I am safe and secure and alive in a way.
Yeah, yeah, it's just a security blanket. Yeah.
Exactly. That's why when you said that on our call, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. And it was just like, ping. I'm going to start using the differences in understanding between cozy and comfortable because I think it's easy in certain seasons. We can get really comfortable in one, but we really desire the other. And
Yep.
so, right now, again, process of becoming, I'm on this journey of getting back to her, this her that I knew that was balanced in my style, balanced in my look, but then also balanced in a way that it made me feel. I guess what I was trying to say there is if somebody listening is trying to navigate that themselves, I think one of the easiest things that you can do is just give yourself grace that sometimes our seasons they won't last forever. Our cozy seasons won't last forever. We're going to want to blossom back into the flower that we know.
Yep.
See what I'm doing there?
Yep. Yep. I love that. I love that.
And just allowing ourselves just to kind of flow and evolve and just lean into potentially what your body is trying to tell you, what your look and your style is trying to tell you, because I think there's energetic language to that as well.
I completely agree. And like a great place to start is with things that you like. I think that you either start one, I mentioned cleaning out your closet. Just like, take a Sunday, look through some stuff, and decide, I think this should go. And just get rid of one piece and allow yourself, because you let go of one piece, to bring one new thing in. And you can just start building. But I say this, and just to give you a blueprint as you decide which season that you are starting to enter, to prioritize a few things. And the first is, as you get rid of something, be intentional about what you're going to bring in. So, as I believe you start buying new clothes, you want it to help elevate your style, elevate your wardrobe. I know how many times I've gone shopping in my mom's closet. That is also because the quality of pieces back in the day were just much, much better. There's some really great places that you can go that you don't have to spend an arm and a leg for those pieces too, because I think today anything that you want is probably going to have some type of price tag to it. So start there. Start with trying to make sure that you are intentional about reading the materials, reading the details of the piece before you buy it. But then also, if you see something that you like, take a look at it. Go try it on. Go see it. Try it, feel it. If it feels good on you, regardless, of its makeup, because I know I'm a synthetics hater. I will say that about myself. But regardless, you put it on, you feel it, you like it, it's nice, it's soft, you feel like you'll be able to wear it a lot. Get it. If you see a sale, you see a nice thrift store that you love to frequent, like go in there and see what you'll see. Because even if it doesn't match the aesthetic of what you have right now, one day it will, because that's who you're growing into. A lot of times people feel like they don't have anything to wear because who they see themselves as is not who is reflected in the clothing that they have as options in their closet. And that means that you're in a space of growth, and we will constantly be in a state of growth. So the best way to feel good about yourself is, yes, again, getting rid of some of the old things, but making sure that the pieces that you are bringing into your closet are aligning with who you are becoming. It's funny, I had a conversation with a client actually not too long ago, this last fall, and she was telling me, she was like, I don't know how to pair some of my older pieces with some of the new things that we had just bought. And I was like, that's a good thing. It's because right now you are learning how to make those older pieces align with the style that you have now created with the new ones. And that's a fun challenge. That's another space where we get to be creative, but being able to have that hand holding and seeing, okay, yeah, you can do this with this and this with this, and this is still a great staple piece. So don't get rid of it, is really key. But if you're DIYing and you're in a space of knowing that you're going to start piecemealing your way into a new wardrobe, just prioritize the quality and prioritize the fit. So how things feel, how they look, and if they align with those two things, get it. And even if it is something that you're like, okay, this fits me now, but I don't know if it'll fit me later, if it is made of really great quality, that is something that you can get tailored. And I think that the key to a really perfectly structured wardrobe is to actually have things that are perfectly structured. And that means that for a lot of us, we're going to have to get things tailored. For women, especially, our bust, hip, waist ratio is often not in proportion with the grading scales of most designers. So, prioritizing certain pieces, especially things that are made of 100%, again, I will say it again, 100% natural fibrous materials is going to be crucial because you can take that in and it will last. Like the polyesters, the rayons, like they peel easier. So if you're going to get something tailored, like you want it to be worth the money that you're spending, so do that with something that you know is going to last, going to hold up, and that'll be something that you might be able to pass on to your daughter one day. She can go shop in your closet and be like, "Oh wow, mom, I love this." And you're like, "Wow, I didn't even know I still had this, and I tailored it to me, and so it should almost fit you perfectly." Like you have those as options, and those are fun things that you get to pass along. But most importantly, they're going to make you feel great because anything that fits you perfectly is going to elevate how you see yourself. And so, again, that's another conversation about just tailoring and alterations and all the stuff that I could like rant on about for 30 years. But those are great places that I say to like to start, especially when you know you're like, I'm not ready to do a full overhaul just yet, but I'd like to still feel like me and, grow with me through this new phase and this new journey.
I feel like you just given like the master class on the psychology of style and also consumerism to a degree when it comes to fashion. I wish we had more time. I know that you said content is really big for you this year. What are some of the ways that those listening can connect with you and soak more of your brilliance and your wisdom through your content?
Yeah. Oh my God. Great question. Oh, always another great question. Please feel free to engage with us. We're pretty active on Instagram, Pinterest, and my website. So we have a lot of how-to articles, how to wear white, how to find and source a tailor, how to create a capsule wardrobe, all of those things that are long form. And you can read them directly on the blog, or you can get our newsletter. So you just go to our website, www.clothespetals.com, and you will find links to everything, but also where to sign up for our monthly newsletter. And we do a lot of in-depth stuff beyond the blog. So where to shop a sale. I am partnered with some really incredible platforms that give us insight into designer drops and sales. And so if you are like on that end of the fashion spectrum and you really want to elevate your wardrobe with fun designer and really great quality pieces, definitely sign up for our newsletter. It's called Tailored to You. And you can also find that on my LinkedIn. So everywhere on my website, you will just see like the links to all of our social profiles and you can follow us from there.
I'm definitely going to be signing up for that newsletter because as that's exactly the phase of life I'm in.
Yes, 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 yes. Well, directly to you. And yeah, you can expect those monthly.
Amazing. I'm also going to say, I listen to your podcast.
Uh-oh.
You have such an incredible brand. I know you were a couple episodes in and it's been a minute, but I'm going to be your advocate for getting back into podcasting if you have the time. I just want to say, and I know that anyone listening can attest to this, you have such a beautiful speaking voice. You speak in a way that just really magnetizes attention. So I'm just going to plug this that maybe expect a podcast here soon.
You know what, Ashley, if when I get around to that, you will have to be my first guest on, and then we can have our part three or part four, whatever happens first, so that we can continue this conversation. Because thank you, you are not the first to tell me that. It's just a matter of when. And I know you can speak to podcasting life and how that is a full-time job on top of the other full-time jobs. So stay tuned. If you sign up for the newsletter, you will know when we have new releases for the podcast.
Do you hear that? Go sign up for the newsletter. Thank you, everyone, so much for tuning in, and we will see you in the next episode.